Hello. I just wanted to pop on live very quickly to talk about publishing if you are choosing between the two typical publishing models. Because I've just been on a call with a particular writer and it's in my head, and I just have some thoughts that might be helpful. So, I want to talk about if you are a writer and you are in the publishing process or the submission process, thinking, how can I sell my nonfiction book or my memoir, my story? And perhaps it's taking too long, perhaps it's a difficult process and this is surprising you, perhaps you are having trouble knowing what to do next. And maybe you're thinking the timelines, the time frame you're waiting is taking so long that you will just self-publish, perhaps because that might feel easier to you or quicker. And I just want to talk about some things to consider about the two options. I'm not going to say traditional publishing is better than self-publishing. I'm not going to say self-publishing is better than traditional publishing. I just want to share some facts and some information that will help you make a better decision. Because what I don't like is when writers make decisions based on the wrong information, and then that actually impacts their writing and publishing career for many, many years to come. And I've actually seen this happen with writers who've gotten so sick of waiting or not knowing how the traditional book publishing industry works, because it is quite mysterious if it's your first time dealing with traditional publishing, that they have just gone and signed up with a hybrid publisher or a self publisher or a vanity publisher, whatever you might call it. They've gone the author publishing model, and this has not gone as well as they had expected. The book has been published and they've got it out there, but certain things have been a lot trickier than they expected. So I just want to give you some information that will help you to make a good decision. So with traditional publishing, this is what I value and what I've always chosen. But self-publishing or author publishing has taken off massively in the last 10 years, particularly. I don't know the growth stats specifically, but we've gone from something like, let's say, 1 million self-published titles on Amazon to now 10 or 100,000 million. It's something ridiculous like that. And that is because things like Kindle Direct Publishing, Amazon, uh, and lots of other publishers or presses or individuals have figured out ways to get a book up online as an ebook, as a print on demand copy, and figured out the production side, and are now selling these services as publishers for authors. So the reason that I have always chosen and value and love traditional publishing is really, it comes down to distribution for me. So when you are traditionally published, and that means you have a publisher such as, think of the commercial publishers you would know: Penguin Random House, Simon and Schuster, St Martin's, imprints of each of these. Part of their model, the traditional publishing sales model, is to get you stocked in bookshops, and this is probably the biggest benefit to traditional publishing. Yes, it takes a lot longer to get your book picked up by a publisher or to get an agent if you are trying to get an agent. But once you have signed on with an agent or a publisher and delivered the manuscript, you can pretty much focus on being an author and being a writer and your work. And you're not having to deal with this whole idea of distribution and storing the books and marketing and promotion. Well, certain marketing promotion aspects, which I'll talk about in a minute. But mainly for me, the reason that I have chosen traditional publishing is one, because of that distribution aspect. So I think of how I behave and how I like to spend my time, and I go to a lot of bookshops. I browse new and secondhand bookshops. I browse, even though I do read a lot online, an enormous amount online, and I find new titles through different aspects online. Typically, I find a new book through or a new author through going to the library and browsing my favourite sections, which are generally in the nonfiction area: biography, memoir, um, leadership, self development, all types of nonfiction, or occasionally fiction. I don't read a lot of fiction though. Or I go to a bookshop, or I subscribe to a lot of new bookseller catalogs, and this is how I find out about beautiful new books that are coming out. Now, and the thing about traditional publishing is when your book is distributed in these bookshops. Different publishers have different arrangements with certain booksellers. So, um, independent bookstores versus the bigger mass market chain booksellers versus places like Costco, Walmart, Target, for example, which do stock books. And it's really, really good if you have a publisher who has a distribution arrangement with those places like Costco or Walmart, because that's going to reach a wider market. They generally do pay a lot less for the book. So as an author, you would make less royalties from those books, but it's about reaching a wider audience. So for me, this traditional publishing, and also the fact that this is their sole expertise. Traditional publishers have been around for over 100 years. They are experts in literature. They have world-class editors working for them. They design the cover. They know about covers and titles, and all the different editors and edits and production things that your book needs to go through are all organized by them. You don't have to think about them. It's very complicated to manage that whole process if you took a look at it from the inside. I think it was Scribe. Yeah, it was Scribe. My publisher of my second book shared a really lovely little clip of the actual printing process of a new book, and it was inside the printers that they took their staff to visit, and I was just marveling watching this clip, which they shared on their Instagram. I was marveling at how many people and things and connecting aspects need to go right for one book to be published. It's quite beautiful. But the thing is, it lasts a very long time, and it reaches a lot more people. And this is what I love about traditional book publishing. You can walk into a beautiful library and see books there that were published, printed over 100 years ago. They're works of art. It's literary art. And you just don't get this if you are self-publishing. You don't have the publisher taking care of you as an author or a writer whose sole profession and business and industry is printing and producing books. Now, some smaller vanity or hybrid publishers do have a bit more experience than others, but it's that brand, I guess, recognition of having a traditional publisher. Let's say your book is published. I don't even have a copy of mine. I was going to pull mine out. So let's say, my book is on the shelf at my local library, which it is. It has Scribe on the side, and that implies a level of backing to your work as an artist, as a writer, that just isn't there when you self-publish. So you have that social proof, I guess, that what you have written is of a certain standard, and it has been considered and worked on by a certain number of people before it has actually met the market. I'm being very broad here. Now, self-publishing, and so that's me. That's what I've chosen because I love libraries and I love bookshops and I love publishing, the ins and outs of it, even all the difficult aspects. Namely how difficult and elusive and exclusive and hierarchical it all is, and trying to find an agent, trying to find an editor, a publisher, and pitching your work, all of that. It is very difficult, and only a certain caliber or number of writers do get picked up by an agent or a traditional publisher, but that's for good reason, because they have these standards, they have a whole level of sales and business that they manage that you don't have to think about when they sign you. So the time with traditional publishing for you as the author, for me as the author, is spent, before the book comes out, writing it and pitching it and selling it to the potential publisher. And then you get to be an author or a writer. And you do need to contribute to the marketing. That is a big part of succeeding as an author in 2024 and the current age. But it is not to the level of complexity that you need to master if you self-publish. Now, self-publishing can work really, really well, and I'll share with you who it works well for. I have seen some books get an enormous amount of pre-sales, press coverage. They've gone on to have long lifespans and sell continuously for a few years. Or one author that I spoke to, she actually self-published and then got a traditional book publishing deal afterwards, and so her book was reprinted and reproduced in a new format by a commercial publisher. She's a coach. She has a massive audience. She knows marketing. These are the people that self-publishing works well for. Self-publishing works really well if you already have a really good platform and audience, if you have some way of distributing and marketing your work to your audience, and if you have the resources to manage the production and the distribution and the storing and the marketing. A lot of marketing needs to go down. And that whole project management side of it, because it is complicated. It's complex. Part of the reason I love traditional publishing is I never had to think about, I never had to make decisions about what format and what typeset style my book was going to be published in, or all these really technical details. And there are a lot of technical details that go into producing a quality work of high standard. So if you have a platform, if you have a big audience, if you're a coach or some kind of personal brand, or a business, a person with a profile or a business where you can distribute these books and sell them and market them to your own audience who actually wants and needs that work, you can succeed. But there are a lot of costs, and that's why I say that you need to have a certain amount of resources if you want self-publishing to work for you. And who I don't see it working for is the majority of people who choose self-publishing simply because they're tired of not hearing back on their pitches, or they don't know how to create a platform, or even what that means in terms of book marketing and why you need it to get an agent, or literary type writers who are just so bewildered by the marketing and the digital side of publishing now, which is an absolute essential for any author who is pitching or selling a book in the 2020s, whether you're self-published or traditionally published. You do need to be involved in the marketing efforts, and you need to show that you have a plan for these marketing efforts and that you have a way to reach your audience. So that's a really, really quick way to look at it, but just who it works for. So I do see self-published authors feeling very disappointed that they gave up too soon and went with a hybrid press or just got a not legitimate publisher to quickly print and produce their work, because this leads to problems in the long term. It's very, very difficult. It's not impossible, but it is very, very difficult to then get a traditional publishing deal for the same book if you have already self-published it. The other thing is you need to do a lot of pre-launch promotion, whether you are traditionally published or not. But if you are traditionally published, you have the advantage there of the brand clout of your traditional publisher. So let's say with Me Scribe, they have their own publicist. They send, particular press releases, marketing material to media and radio podcasts at a certain timeline in the process before your book is published. And that's how authors get featured on national and international radio, TV, and podcasts and things. Now, you can pitch yourself as a self-published author, and many self-published authors do this successfully. It doesn't have the same clout as if it is if you're being pitched under the brand of a traditional book publisher, because as I said much earlier in this live stream, the having that brand, Simon and Schuster or Penguin Random House or whatever the brand of your book publisher is, or even having an agent. So if you're looking at this, considering whether you should give up searching for an agent or self-publish, even having the brand logo of an agent, it is social proof, in marketing terms, and that makes media and even individuals and organisations much more likely to feature you in their own marketing and want to be associated with you. Okay, so you're really capitalising on all of that connection when you are traditionally published. As I said earlier, self-published authors who do succeed have a platform, and generally they're already brands of and in within themselves. So, as I said, this self-published author that I have spoken with, she did get a traditional publishing deal eventually for the same book, but this was after she had spent, I think, 10 years building her brand, building her business to a multi-million-dollar company, a multi-million-dollar global brand, and she doesn't even need the clout of a publisher anymore. She's selling these books through her website, but it's just easy for her. So she said yes to a publishing deal and went straight into royalties. But that is very rare, and she had put in 10 years building up her business and her personal brand to get to that point. So in essence, I think traditional book publishing is going to be much more long-lasting for those of us who value literary work that has been finely curated. We value the old-fashioned aspects of publishing, such as bookshops and libraries and all those sort of old ideas of literature and what goes into a work of literature and editing and working. I also wanted to be traditionally published because I wanted to work with really good editors. I wanted to know what different people in the process did and how they saw things. And you don't get that insight if you're running the whole show yourself as a self-published author. You're basically just commissioning someone to design your cover. You're commissioning someone, so that means you're paying them as well, paying someone to edit the book, multiple people, hopefully. You need to get it typeset. I don't even know the technicalities of the actual production side if you are choosing self-publishing. I just know when I've seen it done really badly, and that is very common. Now, it does take longer to get an actual traditional book publishing deal, but that is, that not necessarily in many ways. It's going to last longer though. So it's almost like you're planting things that are going to definitely prosper and grow. and you're learning in the process. So another reason that I wanted to be traditionally published is I wanted to learn. So if my pictures didn't work, or if my particular book proposal or the manuscript I was working on for a publisher was they didn't like something, I wanted to know why. And this taught me so much about publishing, everything from titles to what sort of titles work better, and what they want in a query, and what an agent actually does for you, and what they need to see. I wanted to learn all of that stuff, and you do sort of lose that opportunity when you just quickly decide to do it yourself. So anyway, I just wanted to give a bit of insight into what I believe, where I believe the two publishing models sit. I think self-publishing is really exciting, and if you do have the resources, if you're happy to manage and micromanage so many, moving parts and pieces, and the timelines, particularly of marketing your book to media. One really a self-published author that I know, she's a journalist as well, really good writer, and great cover that she got designed for her self-published book, but she missed out on getting media because she didn't understand how the timelines in publishing work, with media and things like that. So, typically media will want to know about your book, at least a few months in advance of its publication, and getting certain types of media a year later or a year after your book has come out is very, very rare. So it all needs to be very, very well timed. And with Amazon, particularly Amazon self-publishing, I know that you can get a book up in less than a month. And this is problematic in terms of the marketing and media side, because you want to be doing a nice long pre-launch strategy to really get those pre-sales up for your book, because that's what's going to contribute to the long-term success and long-term sales of your book, whether you are self-published or not. So, and traditionally published authors, if you can learn how to embrace the pitching and that whole navigating the traditional publishing process, is going to go a lot better for you if you can get the right education and information on what you should be doing at various stages, including the marketing, because whether you're traditionally published or self-published, you will need to be savvy about platform and positioning yourself and marketing. One of the best things that I did for the success of my second book, which ended up becoming a bestseller, was I took 3 months off. From the moment it was published, I think the week before it was published, to 2.5 months after that, I organised events. I wrote talks. I did lots and lots of social media, very strategic talks, and social media marketing. And this was all off my own bat, and this was working in conjunction with my publisher, because I know how important it is to harness that publication date. And I knew that that's when any of the big media that I would be given was going to come through, and I needed to be available for it, and I needed to be able to do it really well. So that was a really strategic decision that I made. And you can't make those decisions unless you understand how the timelines work in traditional publishing. So anyway, this is becoming a very long live stream, but I just want to share those two key differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing, and who I see them successfully working for, and what things that you do need to consider about your own personal values and what you like, before you decide to go all in on one or the other.